All right. Good morning, Wales. Good morning, Wales. Apologies for the delay. Let me just make sure that everything is in. Let me make sure you have the sound because I have 20,000 tabs available. Open content. Live. Okay. We should be all good. We should be all good. So let me actually switch the screens first. That's probably more exciting than anything else at this point of time. And good morning, Mr. Adike, good morning. So let's start with a different screen regarding the allocation. So we could be looking at again those approximations for the node running are extremely like they are approximate. We don't know for real. We're not collecting the data. We don't know exactly who is who. We're trying to source out intelligence, and whales are helping us with that. They are trying to. Sarja just sent me a report yesterday, and Sarja, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. About essentially how many nodes are believed to be brought. Um, and B Aslan, same thing, saying thank you so much. Like we have some approximations of how many nodes we have. So for the counts, we also have it's all approximations. We're not collecting data, just approximations. So this is the first version of this approximation where pool one is potentially 53% of the entire node running here on what's up, what's up. And we're looking at 77 nodes, and in this case, council is just 19, and then this pool one is 53%. And the 53% is more than 51%, creates a little bit of an issue. And from what I know, Sarja, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you are expecting to bring more users, right? You're expecting to bring more nodes. So that statistic is only going to be deteriorating. And the only solution for us all, and that's the logical solution, is to, start running more. And I think spoke to council. We're going to have a council call, I believe, next week, next Friday, and we are going to be discussing those things. And I think some council members are reacting positively, and they'll be spawning more nodes. That's one picture, right? That's kind of one situation that we could be looking at. This is another one that we could be looking at. Because yesterday I found out that there may be yet another pool, and another pool is presenting, a significant force as well. So if that's true, because again, we don't know, we have no clue. This is just high level educated guessing approximations, right? Like we don't collect data. We just collect evidence that people themselves write in the chat, and that's how we decide. So if this is true, then a very interesting picture is evolving, and we found out about this potential distribution just yesterday. And if this is true, then we have the council at 19%, pool 138%, still very, how to say, important pool. Then we have two additional pools at 15 and 13% respectively. So we have four fighting forces at this point of time. If you look into the statistics of Bitcoin, good morning, everybody. If you look at the statistics of Bitcoin, we have four major pools, if I'm not mistaken. So far, we also have four major pools. Potentially fifth one at 8%, like right here, right here. Let me just show you. Right there is potentially 8%. But Definitely 4, right? So the 19%, the 38, 15, and 13. And that's quite interesting because these pools will be incentivized, just like we are all incentivized by the human nature to just, try to dominate. And through these domination forces, we all will be spawning more and more stuff, right? Uh, Ideally, what's going to happen is like the most ideal scenarios, of course, we have maybe, um, maybe well, 10 pools, right? Ideally, 20 pools, and each one is more or less uniformly distributed. So if it's 10 pools, roughly 10% each. If it's 20 pools, roughly 5% each. And by the pool, I mean every single pool contains users, right? So they're all individual users. It does not mean necessarily it's, in some cases, it could be, um, a couple of guys just like spinning out like many, many nodes. In other case, it could be, um, conversely, just group, right? In third case, could be some combination of the two. In any case, Ghost is permissionless, and the whole point for us is to make sure that it's as distributed as possible, as decentralized as possible. And the reason why is um, we have let's assume you have 50 nodes in your location. Let's assume we all have 1,000 nodes on the network right now, and let's assume that network is just 20 pools, and each pool is just a person. So 20 individual people, each one running 50 nodes. That's a great scenario, although it's not ideal, but that's a pretty good scenario. The reason why it's a good scenario is if somebody, if one person is losing electricity or internet in that particular point in time, the 50 nodes will be on and off, on and off. But then the other 950 will be still online. So that's okay. Conversely, let's assume we have 3 pools. One pool is 15, like 150 nodes total. 3 pools, 50 nodes each. And then one pool goes out, right? So one person maintaining 50 nodes. It's not 50 people maintaining 50 nodes or 25 people maintaining 50 nodes. It's like one person maintaining 50 nodes. So if that one pool disappears for 10 seconds because of electricity or internet issues or whatever, now all of a sudden we only have 100 nodes operating, and that is right on the edge as far as 2/3, right, of validators maintaining the ledger. So that could become an issue, right? So we have to just be super duper careful with how we are, um, you know, um, how we allocating stuff. At this point of time, the more nodes you guys have, you should run, right, as much as you can. All nodes, validated nodes or full nodes, well, mostly validated nodes, will be um, transposed into the Ghost mainnet with some perks. The perks will be just enough to make sure that the pre-mine is as little as possible for everybody else, but at the same time, all validators will get that pre-mine. So, the more nodes you have now, the better, so you can have that pre-mine originally allocated to you. And that's pretty much it. So again, so it's either we're looking at either this situation, which is slightly more decentralized, slightly less distributed, or we're looking at this one. And even if this is like, it still looks better, but the 38% by the pool one is still a major force. And we still need to kind of be diluting ourselves here a little bit. The pool one should continue to bring more users. Pool one should not be affected, intimidated, or whatever, because they're doing a great, amazing freaking job. So we just should keep moving forward. Now, from perspective of some, OKRs and KPIs that we may have for ourselves as Ghost, right? Like, what is a good number of nodes for us to jumpstart? And this is a discussion uh, that we are having internally. That's a discussion that we may have with council members. It's a very, very theoretical discussion. So there are there are no answers, like good answers or bad answers, but just a train of thought. And if you guys just would like to engage you guys on this train of thought, maybe you could share some feedback in the Telegram Whales group at some point of time. So, what factors should we be optimizing for before the mainnet? Right. So lots of people asking us, like, what needs to happen before the mainnet is live? Like, what is that? What are those criterion What are those parameters? And we thought that, nodes could be potential deleting parameter, essentially specifically the number of nodes. So for example, if we are to proceed, I'm just switching between so many windows. If we are to proceed to the next window here, right, boom. Right, so Ghost here is at 78 nodes as of today. We beat a bunch of blockchain networks. Again, these blockchain networks only $100 million plus. There are some occasional less than 100 million, such as Pertisha. I think it's like around 30 million market cap. All the others, most of the others are $100 million or above. And as you can see, so far, Ghost, thanks to all the whales, Ghost beat $37 billion of market capitalization. Right? So Chile's Bitcoin, SV, BitTorrent, Arbitrum, Mantra, like you add all of them up, you get 37 billion of market cap. That is less cumulatively. That is less decentralized than Ghost, which is pretty insane. And going back to what Anna was asking couple of sessions ago, the question is, well, how can we beat these guys? And that's kind of the answer is we can. That's such a great question. Like, and that's exactly kind of the question that we're always contemplating about how to beat these guys. If you don't have like this one big VC funding you or whatever, and of course, how you beat, as we discussed last call, that we do everything the opposite way, so we become as permissionless as we can be, etc. And then the question is like, what parameters are we optimizing for? So when we have, like, there are a couple of things we can do, because remember, we have GhostDAO DApp, which will exist on every EVM. That GhostDAO DApp will be serving as an entry of the bridge, essentially. So the bridge will have its own smart contract deployed on every single EVM. GhostDAO will be a facilitator of Ghost price and Ghost liquidity on every single EVM, because Ghost is not planning ever to be listed on a centralized exchange. The reason why we don't need to do this is because why? All right, like we are trying to be as Web3 as possible, pure Web3. We don't need these listings anywhere. If Binance decides to list us at some point of time, okay, whatever. But that's not something that our strategy depends on. So we'll be, of course, live on DEXs, and we are targeting V2 DEXs specifically, and that will be some type of limitation for us to select which chains we are going to be live on. But it's not going to be just one chain. That's the beautiful part of Ghost. We will be live with the liquidity and price action on any EVM chain that has a number of criterion. Those criterion include a good stablecoin, most likely DAI at this point of time. Not this whatever Sky, whatever the hell they call themselves. DAI, specifically DAI, and also a V2 DEX. V3 DEX may be an option, but V2 DEX is a better option. So something of SushiSwap V2 type of thing, or Uniswap V2, or a fork. For example, Phantom, now they are rebranded, I believe, as Sonic. They used to have SpookySwap. So SpookySwap used to be V2. So that's there. On the BSC or BNB chain, the Binance chain, we had PancakeSwap, right? So we had V2 PancakeSwap, and now it's V3. So we're going to be going for the V2. So that's kind of the idea, right? So as long as the chain has a DAI and a V2 DEX, we will be deploying there on that mainnet. So high level, based on our super high level studies, we are looking at roughly 6 blockchains to be deployed on. Originally, of course, it's going to be one by one. Like once we do Ethereum, then we do say BNB chain, then we do like Phantom, then we do whatever Polygon. Like that's how it's going to be, like one by one. And then those chains, with the help of GhostDAO, we'll get the price action of Ghost and also the liquidity of Ghost. So you'll be able to enter, exit through GhostDAO/DEXs on that specific blockchain, on that specific EVM. And then you also have a Ghost chain, right? So Ghost chain acting as a bridge, right? So you can enter on whatever Ethereum, and then you can exit on Avalanche if you want to, or exit on BNB chain if you want to. So and then you'll be having Ghost chain as a chain by itself, where you stake Ghost. So therefore, Ghost offers additional incentive to lock in Ghost, and therefore the selling pressure will be minimized and the buying pressure will be maximized. It's all decentralized incentive based. Amazing structure. Okay, so now the question is, in that specific situation, what we need? We have dApps, which is Ghost DAO dApp. I'm not even mentioning Ghost NFT, Ghost Auction. Let's just focus on the core. So we have Ghost DAO dApp, and we also have a chain, Ghost Chain, which is comprised of the chain itself plus the smart contracts that we call them gatekeepers. Those gatekeepers will exist on every single blockchain. So to sum it up again, we have Ghost DAO smart contracts, we have Ghost Chain smart contracts, and we have Ghost Chain, right? Boom. So those three components. So those three components have what type of parameters needed, right? So they have Ghost Chain itself will need daily transactions. Ghost Chain will need nodes, validators, and Ghost Chain needs some type of liquidity, but the liquidity will be visible through the DEXs. Now the dApps will need TVL, and the dApps will need unique active wallets. Right, so those are the 5 parameters. So let me just mark it up one more time. So we have unique active wallets, TVL, nodes, daily transactions, and daily liquidity. So those are the 5 parameters that are major foundational pillars. Now the question is, which of these 5 parameters can we guarantee on the testnet? Right. So like if we are launching from testnet to main, and that's what we have been discussing this whole week. Lots of research have been done. I'm not going to be sharing this research yet, although the research is still in process. Regarding like additional research on the chains, on the nodes, etc., on the node distribution, node allocation. But the ideas that we thought or we discussed have been, how can we guarantee TVL? For example, because TVL is perhaps the second most important metric after nodes. And the question is, once we go and launch Ghost DAO on testnets, and we see transactions, and we see this, like, and you guys will play with this, you guys will be totally blown away by this dynamic, because what you just didn't see anything yet. Like what you've seen, as I keep saying, like we've seen maybe 5% of the whole stack. Now maybe like since we're running the validators maybe, and the Casper will be distributed soon, so maybe you'll be looking at 7.5% of the whole stack, which is nothing. You haven't seen 100%. We ourselves haven't seen 100% fully together, right? Because it's so complicated, so complex as a structure. But even if the Ghost DAO dApp on the testnet experiences significant amount of transactions, significant TVL, there's no guarantee that TVL, because it's a testnet TVL, it's kind of fake. There's no guarantee that fake TVL, testnet TVL will get somehow transferred one-to-one to the mainnet TVL. Same thing applies to the unique active wallets, right? So we can be playing on the testnet, but how do we know that the same users will actually convert to the mainnet or more, right? So how do we know that? We kind of don't. Now, when it comes down to the chain, so the chain has nodes, daily transactions, and daily liquidity. So daily liquidity is pretty much very similar to TVL. So how can we guarantee that? We can't. Even if the testnet shows some cool figures, we can't really make sure that they are transferred to the mainnet. Now, the daily transactions on the chain, same exact thing. So even if we are all transacting within Ghost Chain on the testnet, with Casper, how do we know that we will be doing the same thing on the mainnet? We don't. But the nodes is something that we have more or less, not a guarantee, but we have some type of pretty accurate, or probably the highest conversion. Because what's going to happen? Nothing. Like, it's not that the mainnet nodes will all of a sudden require like a tougher machine or something, right? Like, it's going to be the same exact requirements. So we're already all super familiar with running the testnet. And especially for the validators who help us on the testnet, like all of you whales, all of them will receive the allocation, right? like it's going to be a tiny allocation, right, to make sure that we are, as close to zero pre-mine as possible. But at least you have that, and that allocation goes as a proof of stake. So you have to have a stake, and let's assume that stake is, I don't know, 1 ghost or 0.1 ghost. Yeah, it's tiny, sure, but you have it. That 1 ghost can get to $3,000. That 1 ghost can get to, huge numbers. So how do we like guarantee that the nodes will stay? Well, we can't, but since the machine requirements are the same, since everything is the same, that's like the highest guarantee we could possibly achieve, right, with the metric. And then the question is, if the only parameter we can really, try to get to, or try to more or less guarantee is the nodes, what type of parameters within the nodes we can look at? And that's multiple parameters. First of all, that we thought about. First of all, again, I'm just describing the thought process. We're not right, we're not wrong, we just don't know. And let's all of us kind of discuss together, maybe in Wales throughout the week. I know that some of you guys have great ideas. So let me pull this up. Let me pull this up. One second. Wrote it down somewhere. I mean, I should have really done the bullet points. Yeah, the first one is the minimum number of nodes, right? So maybe there's some type of minimum. But the question is, what is that minimum? So we're conducting additional statistic, like across chains that are more than 100 million and less than 100 million. And of course, there's a lot more chains that are less than 100 million. I'm trying to see the texture of nodes, right? So we essentially, I want to see like the frequency, like how many chains have, from 0 to 50 nodes? How many chains have from 50 to 100 nodes? How many chains have from 50 to 150 nodes? Like, I want to have these buckets, those bins, as they call it in stats. And then I would like to see how many chains in the universe, proportionally, like percentage-wise, have that allocation, right? So we know the exact percentile of where we stand. And the more we're thinking about this, right, we don't want to have a number, because the number, if you create a number, the number will be like, once we achieve the number, we have to launch. That's not really true, because this number has to be comprised of multiple of pools, right? Multiple clones, multiple clans. So if you have lots of, like, how many nodes is a good number? The more research that I'm conducting, the more I'm realizing that this number, like a more or less guaranteed number for us to launch, is like 1,000 nodes. If you somehow get to 10,000 nodes, that's like insane. Now, here's a problem with this, right? So now we call, so Lucifer is asking, how does number of nodes make a difference? You should watch previous videos and also previous podcasts where we conduct linear regression statistical analysis of the number of nodes and some of the parameters on the market capitalization, and you will see how number of nodes plays a significant role. But the reason why there's a caveat is because some of you guys running nodes for other projects too, and then other projects that have nodes don't get anywhere. Then the question is, why don't they get anywhere? Well, because something must be said about the node itself. The node has to be difficult enough to be launched. It does not have. It cannot be. Well, it can be, but it's like, because what other projects doing? Some projects doing. They're trying to optimize this whole node operation. Like, oh, let's just like create a machine. We had this idea too. Still have this idea. Still discussing this idea. Let's have like a ghost box. So you buy it, you plug it into the wall, and it magically starts working. Problem with this is, if there's any update to the software, if there's any issue, the person who bought the box not technical enough, and they don't know what to do, and not lots of nodes now disappear. So the valuation of these nodes has to be less than the valuation of kind of like a GigaChat type of nodes, where you have to learn how to work with a black screen, which is not that difficult, run the commands, run the node, and that, like, now you know how to update your your client, you know how to update the stack, the Git, you know how to rerun the commands. Like, you're becoming an actual soldier, as opposed to just like a soy type of individual where you just buy a freaking box, plug it into the wall. And that's what these projects do. Like, some projects have 60,000 nodes. 60,000. Um, of course, that's like there's kind of live. I think it's Chia Network there. There's some gaming projects where as long as you play the game, the node is automatically being run in the background. Um, some projects have like 4,000 nodes. Are they validators? I don't think so. Same thing with Chia. Are those 60,000 validators? No, no fucking way. Not with that consensus, because it has to be fast, right? So it's definitely lower. Like validators, probably 20 validators and like shit ton of these like unnecessary. Nobody cares about peers. So it's BS, right? But that's just a great example where you have 60,000 nodes or 4,000 nodes, and people don't even know that they're running nodes. And of course, if people don't even know that they're running nodes on the background, that node shall not have the market capitalization of $11 million per node towards the market cap. It just shouldn't be. It really shouldn't. Yet, if you spend your time, you fucking with the black screen, you spend a week, oh shit, like, oh, it's difficult not to, whatever. Now you know how to operate it. Now you know how to educate another person, another peer. Now you are way more technical than you've been before. If you're not technical in the first place. If you're technical, then it's easy. But then, right? So essentially, kind of the logic should be, or kind of that makes sense is these. The values just purely depends on the overall knowledge level of an average node operator. Right? That's how it should be. And that's why we shouldn't be optimizing potentially. We shouldn't be making it easier because there's no way to make it 100% easy. Like there's no way. There's a way to make it 80% easy, 60% easier, right? But there's no way to make it 100% easier because you need to generate your keys and we cannot hold your private keys. So the first aspect, going back to those OKRs, KPIs, is the number of nodes. So again, the more analysis I'm doing, the more I'm seeing that 1,000 nodes could be a good number to launch. If you have lower than that, that's also a good number. 1,000 is almost like a guaranteed number. Now, here's a problem with that number. Like, let's assume we say, okay, now the KPI is 1,000 nodes. Then what's going to happen? We all got to just start optimizing just for that. So instead of focusing on bringing new members, instead of focusing on bringing new clans, new pools, right? We will just like, oh, you know what? Like, since we just need to launch 1,000, for example, let's just like, deploy lots of VPS servers. Like, let's just like buy lots of machines, but without bringing additional members, right? Without making the Ghost ecosystem, richer. It's like the same people just running more nodes each. No good for anybody. It doesn't work like this, right? Like it has to be a community, right? So therefore, like essentially, we do what we do. 1,000 is a good number. If you get less than 1,000, we'll still be launching, contingent upon some other things happen. But kind of like the Northern Star is 1,000, but again, has to be distributed. Now, what does distributed mean? Distributed means, again, based on the field that we're discussing, that every single pool must be less than 10%, roughly. In this case, we create a homogeneous set that is uniformly distributed and therefore is actually decentralized. So therefore, like let's assume pool one at this point of time is like how to achieve that 10%. If pool one, let's go back to the slide before, is 38%, it means that like at 78 nodes, that roughly is like how much? 80, like roughly 20, like roughly 30 nodes here. It means that all of these clans here have to have 30 nodes each as well. It doesn't mean that this pool has to be like dropping nodes. No. This pool maintains the nodes, ideally adds more, but these pools also need therefore to also add more, right? To make sure that this pool is no longer 38%, but it's like say 10%, right? So if every single one of these pools here is, whatever, 30 nodes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So then it's going to be roughly, each one is going to be roughly 15%, right? Because it's 7 pools, 100% divided by 7, roughly 15%. Boom. That's how it works, right? That's how we should be like looking into it. So again, the first parameter is the number of nodes. Second parameter is the structure, and then the third parameter is the daily growth. How many nodes are getting onboarded every single day? Right. So the trajectory specifically. The trajectory is at this point of time I think Cosmos likes to say we have 1 node per day, roughly. Um, I don't necessarily like this thing, but the more he says it, the more I like it. Yeah, maybe it is one node per day. Maybe it's 3 nodes per day, right? So ideally, it would be nice to create the trajectory of how many nodes we had being added over the last whatever month or so, and then try to project how many nodes we will have in the next 6 months, right? And then time the launch based on that, right? And while timing that launch and while doing all of that stuff, we all will be more or less on the same page regarding how, um, you know, when the launch is going to take place, right? And how to prepare for it, because we have some other things to prepare. We need to finalize the Ghost Light paper. We need to launch the Ghost DAO. Make sure you guys are super comfortable with Ghost DAO because it's a pretty complicated product. It's easy, like you'll just be clicking the button, say sure, but like it's a pretty complicated product from perspective of actually being able to navigate it, right? Um, okay, so spoken off on this, we have about 15 minutes, and we have some other topics to cover, so I'll be jumping through them sufficiently fast. So what we did not do yet, but we are intending to do potentially this weekend / early next week is 1 second. So again, we out, outpaced 37 billion worth of market cap. So the Casper transactions, right? So those will be sent out. So we created a post in the Ghost Whales in Telegram. So lots of you guys responded to receive 0.69 Casper, so you will be receiving them very soon, either this weekend or early next week. Thank you so much. Right. So, and the whole point is not to receive them. Don't treat this as a airdrop. Like, oh, I just gotta keep it. Like it's testnet. You need to get it, and then you need to start transacting with it. Like you need to understand how Ghost Chain works. And another thing is, so this will happen. The Casper transactions will happen definitely this week, this weekend, or most likely this weekend, but potentially early next week. And telemetry. So on the telemetry front, let me show you what we have. Let me switch the screens. Internet screen, PPT. Yep. So you guys see it, right? So let me quickly tell you what happened. So I'll be honest. I'll be very transparent. Somebody's fucking with the sheet. I think we know who that is. There's nothing we can do. There's nothing we're planning to do because it's like whatever. Like he thinks he's like doing some whatever evil stuff, but he fucked with this twice. I think it's the same person. He left some trace. We know the letters, so we know the alphabet, so we know the origin of that person who fucked with it. We took some screenshots with 99% accuracy. I know who that is specifically. So somebody's fucking with the sheet. Um, and there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we will do because who freaking cares? It's an Excel sheet. And essentially, what they do, they just go ahead and replace symbols to kind of inflate the numbers. I'm not sure why that is considered to be like an attack. Like on the other hand, you would want to decrease the value. Like you would want to show that we don't have 78, but we want to have you want to show that we have like 10 nodes, so everybody gets dissatisfied. Everybody gets the ethos drops, whatever. The mojo drops, right? But no. So last time we saw 90 nodes. But we adjusted the kind of just erased all the entries, repopulated, and then it will fix itself. So at this point in time, we have 78. I believe we onboarded 1 node yesterday. I think Sergio said that like 2 more nodes potentially joining. So you may be looking at 80 very soon. But in any case, so that sheet will be coming to an end very soon. Keep populating it because that's a great source of truth for us for now. Just so you all see exactly what's happening, right? So I think you guys like populating the sheet as well. But this is what's coming. So this thing is already live, just FYI. I'm not testing it. It's been live this whole week. So this is the telemetry that will be replacing the Excel sheet over the next probably 2 weeks. I don't think the team allowed me to showcase it, so the team will kill me yet again. But the reason why we don't have that many dots is because only new people who are joining will be reflected yet. But if you decide to essentially rerun your node, you will also appear on this map. This map will become public very soon. And what you have here, you have these nodes here that joined in the last whatever. Let's assume in the last, I guess, week, right? Then you also have this distribution amongst the operating system and versions and CPU architecture and stuff like that, right? So that stuff is already live. We're gonna share it with you guys very soon. Please be patient. We are testing certain things, making it look better. Then we would like to get your feedback as well. But yeah, so we good with this, and it will be replacing the sheet. But in the meantime, let's please populate the sheet. It's important for us to keep populating the sheet just so we have the source of truth. And thank you so much, all of you guys, for doing that. We have two more things to discuss. So the first thing is Discord versus Telegram, and this peculiar thing happened where every single whale who was joining and qualified for whale became an admin, but there's a limitation to 50 admins, so there are multiple things we can do. The first thing is to just ask the new whales to essentially add their status to the name. That's probably going to be the solution at this moment. The Excel sheet may not be sufficient because the Excel sheet is fine for us to keep track, and we will have the Excel sheet, of course, but it's more for all of us to know who we're talking with, right? So in whales, so I think we'll be asking the new whales to just add, the status to their name. That's what's going to happen, most likely. It may be inconvenient, but we'll probably have to do what we have to do. And if somebody decides to, at any point of time, to misrepresent themselves, that will lead to bans and restrictions. So we'll create a proposal about this. And I don't think anybody's really misusing this stuff, right? I think we, all play nice, all play by the rules, except for this one guy who is fucking with our Google Sheets. Thinking that he's like, doing some evil stuff. That's that. Now, as far as Discord, so Discord, we need to be very careful how we approach it. The reason why is we need to make sure that we don't lose conversion much. So what I mean by conversion is we tried from some of the probably 80% of you guys who are on this call right now. Thank you so much for joining. You guys don't know, but we tried so many things. We tried to have calls on Telegram first. Like the calls were not on YouTube; they were literally inside of the Telegram. It was easier for everybody to get on board because everybody's notified about this call, so everybody knows that that it's happening. It was then what happened was in certain countries Telegram was banned for some time, so we had to pause the calls for some time, and then we just couldn't figure out what's the next venue. And then we decided to go to Discord, and then we had calls there, and we had some interesting. Essentially, like on Telegram, we probably had 10 to 15 users every single time listening to the call. Then Discord, we had 10 to 15 users who were different from the Telegram users. Some were the same, some were not the same, so there was some overlap, but for the most part, it was new users. And then we switched, I think, back to Telegram, and then we switched to YouTube. And now we're trying YouTube. YouTube was also banned in some countries. The team is distributed, so the team is kind of all over the place. But with YouTube, at least we were able to figure this out through VPNs, so it worked. With Telegram, the VPNs did not help. But with YouTube, VPNs did work. So we can have free calls here. VPNs so far kind of work unless they're banned. Then we have to find new VPNs. So far it's working. Now, when it comes down to just moving, but what we discovered through this process was, of course, the reason why we have 16 people watching right now at most, and we don't have maybe 50 people watching, is part of the reason is because we've been switching between different platforms, and the whales became more or less active just 6 months ago. Somebody just messaged if they messed up the sheet. No. none of you guys messed up the sheet. Somebody messed up the sheet on purpose, like purposefully. You guys did everything correct, so no, you did perfect fine. So, but again, what we discussed throughout the call, what we discovered is that the reason why we don't have 10, 50 people watching potentially is because we had all these loss of like conversion here and there, and the ghost whales became active 6 months ago. If you guys, just so you know, we purposefully started just making it more active, and community just reacted, and community, you guys rock, because we've been thinking to either go for the main community or to go for the whales community. Now, in the main community, we had a dice. People love the dice, so we didn't have the threads on Telegram, so we just had the main community. People were just playing dice, and you couldn't really have a good discussion. Plus, we had anti-spam. Bots still have it, where you cannot do certain things, but that helps us fight spam. So it was this whole kind of discovery story of which venue to find where we can engage the users, and we discovered that okay, let's try to do this in a private group of whales, and then we started doing this, but lots of loss of conversion. So now we learned our lesson. So if you're gonna go to Discord right now and then try to move everybody from TG whales to Discord, we will be having loss of conversion again, and that's just not advisable. And yet Discord is potentially, better in certain ways. Like certain things are easier, calls are easier to make potential. Although I love Telegram more. Discord was giving us issues with the audio. Actually, we had issues with, but you can have like unlimited ranks and stuff, like all the status. So at this point of time, I think the strategy is to see how active Discord is going to become. And if Discord has become more active, then we are going to be thinking about doing something. Potentially, the thought process, I'm not sure if you guys like it. Again, the team will kill me. But potentially, the idea is to, like, if Telegram is Ghost Whales, then Discord will be another clan. Ghost Dolphins, right? Something. And then we have yet another competing platform with competing community. There's some overlap, but it's different. And then we have dolphins competing with whales, and that will just add to the decentralization of the whole Ghost project. So that's kind of how we're thinking right now. But for the next month or so, let's just see how active Discord becomes. Don't make it active on purpose, right? Like there's no point. But if you bring users there and users just love Discord more, then of course we'll just kind of, we're not going to switch from Telegram to Discord. We're just going to add Discord to the communication channel. Right? So that's what's going to happen. Final point, and we are done. Final point for the day is our discussion with Theta Chain. So we published the post yesterday, I believe, December 20th, maybe 24, 36 hours ago. So thank you guys for voting, right? So almost all whales voted for it to have a civil debate, and we're trying to make it as civil as possible without, calling names, without going aggressive. We just, as we like to do sometimes, we like to keep it really as civil as we can. Like we actually putting effort. So this post is available on Twitter. Obviously, you guys probably read it. It has the same points as we put in whales, same exact points. The first point is that the whole point, just the context again, Theta Chain said that they have thousands of nodes. They presented the map. The map says, let me open it up. The map says 11,000 edge nodes and 3,000 guardian nodes and 29 validated nodes. Although this is outdated because people say it's only 25, not 29, including Katy Perry, which is amazing if you trust her with your fucking transactional fees and whatever. Of course, it's not her specifically; it's her creative agency. Well, if you trust a creative fucking agency to run a node, out of 25, I don't know where your head is. Of course, this chain is mostly AI hopium, because everybody thinks that AI will magically change the world. They don't understand what the fuck AI is, but they think it will change the world. They get scared, they get excited. Congratulations and good luck to them. But in any case, so they're saying, well, listen, Ghost has at this point of time 78, but we have thousands of nodes. Like you guys have like only 78. We have like shit ton. We have 30 or whatever, 2,800 Guardian nodes and Edge network nodes. Okay. So we present all the evidence with links. First of all, we said, just to sum it up, that Edge nodes, is just this AI bullshit thing where people just, what they did essentially, they created an easy node that you can just plug into a wall. That's how it works, right? And of course, these nodes add no fucking value, as we discussed earlier today, right? So, because those users didn't do anything to set it up, they just bought it, whatever, $1,000, 2,000, whatever was the price, and you just plug it into the wall. And that's what all these AI/blockchain projects do nowadays. They just sell it, and they think it's adding to decentralization. It really doesn't. So now edge nodes have nothing to do with the blockchain because they are maintaining the edge network, some AI computational thing that they're trying to compete with Google Cloud or AWS. Good fucking luck to anybody trying to do this. So, but in any case, we're trying at this point of time of the discussion to get to the point that edge nodes should not be calculated towards the number. I'm not getting yeses from them yet, but I'll show you the discussion. And second point is try to then ask clarifying questions on Guardian nodes, because Guardian nodes are most likely also just stakers and they're not validating shit. So most likely these are the only nodes that matter. And then all these users are just confused on what the hell they invested money into. But they have to defend their investments at any point. So, so far the comments we received, this is the state of Web 2.5, right? This is the state of Web 2.5. These guys are defending the project that they don't understand. Interesting how you leave out the edge. That's the community from Theta. Interesting how he says, also interesting to see. He says, yes, man, get rewards. Speak your mind and be prepared to be labeled FUD. I'm assuming he says that he's not a yes man, but he's the biggest yes man I've ever fucking seen in my life. Interesting how you leave out the edge nodes. Is there a reason why you didn't mention 20k nodes, or did you just not fit the narrative? To which we say, well, listen, that's our response. Edge nodes don't participate in blockchain-related activity. Here's a screenshot. Here's a link. Right? Now, this guy's trying to switch right away. The second person trying to switch right away. If you're going to compare the amount of nodes just on the blockchain itself, Theta still has thousands of Guardian nodes. So this guy kind of proved that edge nodes at least shouldn't be part of the discussion. So I'm asking him a question. Okay, so let's confirm. I'm responding to this guy. I'm okay, let's confirm that edge nodes actually not part of the blockchain function. For now, let's go step by step. Now, this guy who is not a yes man, who's not a self-proclaimed yes man, in my opinion, what you post about is old. It doesn't mention metachain. There's no fucking metachain. Okay, you should read the metachain white paper. If you haven't, for full understanding of how the ecosystem works, how each node works together. Okay, cool. That's amazing. Give me links. Give me specifics. So I'm asking, give me specifics. And of course, I'm not receiving anything, right? So that's the state of the Web 2.5 industry. These guys have no fucking idea what they invested their money in. They read the hopium of AI and blockchain. It's super hot. Let's combine the two together. We should also combine the drones. We should also do 3D printing. And what else is hot? And maybe biotech. That project should be probably trillions of dollars. It will change the fucking world. That's kind of how they think about it. And, that's the reason why we don't like Web 2.5, because it's, first of all, we don't like the Web 2.5 founders, right? Who, proceed to brainwash all these guys who are not technical enough to understand themselves what they invested in. But these guys are just followers, right? These guys just blindly follow without doing any critical analysis. And that's the reason why these nodes, even if they do end up having 2,800 nodes, let's assume that's actually the case, which could be the case. Let's assume these nodes actually do something, like light nodes, although we doubt that those are light nodes. Those are probably master nodes, just like stakers, that have no sealing function, no finalization, nothing, which means nothing as well. So let's assume these guys actually end up being light nodes. But the fact that these light node runners have no fucking clue what they invested in really deprecates the value of each one of these nodes. There's no way how this node should be priced at $11 million per node. It's just not. It's just not possible. Okay, so on this positive note, ladies and gentlemen, we'll pause. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week. Lots of interesting updates. You'll get your Caspers. The telemetry is on the way to be showed publicly. And let's start adding more nodes. We also would love to hear your discussion and your thoughts on what metrics we should be optimizing for the mainnet. On this positive note, we'll pause. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye bye.